is endemic countries. So we don't see a lot of it nearly as much here. The difference also mainly is that with hepatitis C, we can treat it now. A few years ago, we had no treatment at all for hepatitis C. Today, we have a 95% cure rate for hepatitis C. So that's why you're seeing the push out there in the advertisement to get tested. If you're over 65 or you're over 60, I believe it is, you're supposed to get a one-time test for hepatitis C. So if you haven't been tested and you're over 60, you should ask your doctor to check you for hepatitis C next time you're in for a routine exam. So that's what that's all about. If you're hearing about this hepatitis C screening push that's going on out there, it's mainly because we have a treatment for it, and the reason you haven't heard about it before was because there was no treatment. So that's sort of where that's all come from, and that's being sponsored by, of course, the pharmaceutical companies that develop the treatments. Treatments are expensive, but you can treat hepatitis C in 3 months with pills now, whereas before it took a lot longer. And in that transition time, while they were sort of refining the treatment. So we got Tracy, we got Mary Ranch, we got Seeker, we got Madge Wells, we got Robin. Hi.
Hello, you guys.
Hello, everyone.
Vanessa, I've got Mary Beth. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Elena. Kira. Hi, babes. Kira winks in the kitchen, making noises. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Laura. They're all saying hi to you too. Happy New Year to you guys. Yes! We're in a new year. We are in a new phase. We are in veganuary as well. There's all that going on. It's all so exciting. I'm excited.
I had pho for lunch.
Pho.
Vietnamese pho with tofu, completely vegan and delicious.
Vegan and delicious. Tell us more about it. Hi, Robin. Robin's on both. Good girl.
Hot, spicy, lots of Vietnamese spices. I think they use basil and some other really tasty ingredients. I'm not sure what, but it's completely vegan. And they take and they put a rice-based noodle product, and you get in my case, you can get meats, but little chunks of tofu in there. So they sort of lightly brown the tofu, and then they toss it in, and then you pour this really, really boiling hot stuff on it, and liquid that's got all the flavor and everything in it, with some veggies in there. There's some carrots and celery and some other yummy stuff, and I couldn't eat it all. It was too much liquid for my little tummy, so I couldn't finish it. It was really good, though. I'm feeling great today. Almost no neck pain at all. Just amazing.
Oh, that's so good to hear. So good to hear. That's much better.
Tracy Cook asks, what are my views on not immunizing your baby? I think that's foolish.
There you go. Right out of the horse's mouth. Not that you're a horse, Jack, of course.
You haven't lived until you have watched your baby die of whooping cough. There are a few more horrible things to have to endure than watch a child slowly suffocate due to whooping cough. No, thank you. Not for me. I'm not signing up for that.
No, that's very good advice. Very, very good advice. Wink? Could you put the heating on, please? All right, okay. I've just not long been home and it's a bit chilly here. Hi, Carol. Hi, Laura. They're saying they like the pho. Kira's saying it's weird. Some can do it. Anything with spice in it just lights up my little eyes. I love a bit of spice.
I used to call it pho too, but we have Jenny Lee at our office and she's Vietnamese and she says it's pho.
Pho.
It's pronounced pho.
Pho. Pho. It's pho. Okay then. Pho. Gosh, we would definitely not say that by looking at it.
No.
Carol,
it's like a PH and O with a symbol on it.
Ah, right. Okay. And that makes all the difference to us non-Vietnamese people.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Snow. They've got snow. Lynn has joined the Veganuary site. Carol heard on Radio 5 Live today. that it's veganery. Elena had a vegan frozen meal last night that had tofu and it was quite good.
Yummy.
Teresa's been stuffing bell peppers.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Oh,
Wonderful,
Elena
wonderful,
says they've
wonderful.
got a restaurant called Fo You.
Any doctor out there that is telling you not to immunize yourself or your children had better have an alternative, had better have tell you how to prevent these childhood diseases that kill and kill and kill around the world, from measles to mumps to rubella to tetanus to varicella, which is chicken pox, to the hepatitis. All of these vaccines that keep us alive and healthy, and no product is perfect or 100% safe. And yes, there is a chance that you can have a bad outcome from a vaccine. And yes, that's absolutely true. But you can also, the odds are much worse that you're going to have a bad outcome by getting a disease if you actually get the disease for which you refuse to vaccinate yourself or a child against. So that is my opinion. My opinion is it's just the numbers, man. Don't be stupid. I mean, that's just dumb. That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's just dumb. And and pediatricians, they get these vaccines and they vaccinate your children. Pediatricians do not even earn anything on vaccinations. They don't. They lose money sometimes on these vaccinations, and they know how important it is because they're the ones that are in the hospital with these kids when they do get these childhood illnesses. So, you know, it's not about doctors making money, for crying out loud. You say, oh, it's the pharmaceutical companies making money. Well, yeah, they're going to make some money, but they're not getting rich off of these vaccines. Come on, look, that'd be like saying all of a sudden we should stop, using public sanitation, that we should all just start freely emptying our waste on the side of the highways. I mean, it's stupid. It's really idiotic. We live longer, healthier lives because of vaccines and because of better sanitation. Those are the main changes in society over the last couple of hundred years, that has allowed mankind to live much, much longer than it does now. And in fact, I think there are in some places, if you refuse to vaccinate your child, and then your child gets the disease and then gives it to somebody else, then you're actually liable for that.
Wow.
And so, you know, measles is no joke. You hear about these measles outbreaks in colleges because you get enough kids together where they're not vaccinated and somebody ends up getting measles and then you have an outbreak. That's crazy. This is completely preventable. You know, that's like, that's like not wearing your seatbelt while you're driving because you might hit a tree and be unconscious and be unable to get your seatbelt off so you can get out. I mean, it makes no sense. It just doesn't work. You know, so you throw that thing in there. You know, so I know that's not why we're here, but somebody asked me right up front, you want to throw a medical question at me and you want to get a true answer, you're going to get it. I'm happy to share with you.
I love your bold honesty. Kira has asked about immunization and the correlation between autism and vaccinations.
Yeah, it's a correlation. There's never been proven to be a direct causation. There's something going on. We seem to have more children with autism and children on the spectrum than in before. But we also used to take people that didn't fit into society and just leave them in the basement.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to ask yourself about reporting and things like that. I question a lot of this.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the geniuses in the world in the past that could do amazing things like with mathematics or with art and things like that, and yet they didn't seem to fit in, and they were perhaps a little autistic. Einstein couldn't remember his home address or telephone number, but you can't tell me he wasn't brilliant. So Do some of these people have, a little different way in which their minds work? Absolutely. And now we have some children, we get children with autism that don't fit into our society, but yet we find that they have these brilliant pockets of knowledge and ability in their minds, and yet we'd much rather have them be able to fry hamburgers at McDonald's than to be what they are.
Yeah. I think the issue with we had a whole scare with the triple vaccination here in the UK, and I think that the doctor that kind of started it got struck off in the end. I may be wrong there with the actual final outcome, but it was found not to have any basis in the studies. And I think at the time when you actually administer these vaccinations, it's the time when you start to notice that your kid isn't quite the same as other kids. Finion's got high functioning Asperger's. And when I took him to nursery school when he was 2.5, after kind of probably about 2 months, they asked me to go and check him to see if he was deaf, because he didn't seem to be reacting like the other children. And he wouldn't hold a pencil and a crayon. He wouldn't write his name. He wouldn't do any of that the other children did. And when they tried to get his attention, he didn't react. And now I knew that he wasn't deaf, but I went and had the test done because I thought, you don't know, my only child, it's, 2.5 years into being a mum, and these experts that see lots of children say there's an issue. And what it was with Finian is, because he's got sensory processing disorder as well, he finds noise and movement and colours and lots of people all doing things like intolerable. It's like white noise to them. So his way of coping with that was to go within himself and just make train noises. He was big into trains for many years. And, so at that time you're giving them a vaccination, and then somebody's saying things are slightly different. So I think, you don't know until, someone points these things out.
I will tell you, I have never seen a research study that links autism to any vaccine. And if anybody out there has a research article that has been peer reviewed and has been accepted, and you have that, send me the link. Otherwise, all you're doing is you're just talking. And this is nothing more than junk science. It's out there. It continues to float around out there. Every time a child is diagnosed with autism, they want to go back and say, well, it's because of the vaccines. And I don't know if it is or isn't. I've never seen research to say that it is related to vaccines, but I will tell you this, there are a lot of those children would be dead today if we didn't have those vaccines because of the childhood illnesses. So, let's keep things in perspective, folks. Let's remember that we're talking about millions of lives that are saved with vaccines versus maybe thousands of cases of autism. So if you really want to take that risk with your child, I think that you can probably get away with it. But if you have, adults who get chickenpox can die from that. Adult varicella can lead to death. Varicella pneumonia there is a fatality rate associated with that. Okay. Right. So let's remember that the diseases that we're preventing are pretty serious. Yeah. Okay. Smallpox killed many, many people. Fortunately, we vaccinated everybody all at once around the world, and everybody got behind it. And guess what? We got rid of the disease. Now we don't have to get vaccinated for smallpox anymore. But we haven't been so successful with many other illnesses. So keep in mind what you're talking about and what you're comparing, because just because even if there is a risk of autism associated with vaccines, that's not necessarily a reason not to give them.
Yeah. Cool. I think, the gifts that children with autism have are fantastic, and the reason that Finian wouldn't draw is because of his fine and gross motor skill difficulties that came with it as well, that we didn't discover until he was about 6. we didn't realize he was cognitively at adult level when he was 6. So when he was 2.5 and 3, he's probably like a 12-year-old, and he's thinking, I can't hold the pen like everyone else, so I'm not going to do it because I don't want to be different. I don't want people to know that I can't do it. So, you know, there's lots of reasons for those sort of things. And I do think the timing that they happen is when you start to notice the differences. And, you know, the kind of differences, you know, when they're babies, they're very bright and doing all the things. And then there's a point where when they start to socialize that they can't manage, like other children.
We live in Western society. We all have the internet, and nobody sees, or we very infrequently see children with whooping cough, and we very infrequently see children with measles and mumps and these diseases that can be so severe. We don't see those. What we do see are children that develop autism. Now, that's junk. That is what I call fake news. Why is that fake news? Because you're not seeing the video of the children in the sub-Sahara or the children in remote areas of India that are dying of the diseases. You don't see the mothers holding their lifeless children because that's considered too harsh. You're not going to get that video because then it would be in balance. You see, that would be a balanced story, which nobody here wants to see because we don't think about those things, and that's not going to, put people in front of a TV screen. But you start talking about vaccines causing autism, you're going to get everybody on there watching. The same with gun shootings in schools in America. It's a horrible thing when it happens. However, the fact of the matter is, statistically, our schools today are safer than they have been in 30 years. Go look at the data. Our schools are safer. And yet, if you talk to people in other areas of the world, they think we have an epidemic of gun shootings in America. And that's just nuts. It's ridiculous. Your likelihood of being shot in America is extremely low. You're far more likely to have a lot of other things happen, like get hit by a drunk driver, for example. It's just, the odds are extremely low. But if it serves somebody's political agenda, then it's going to get a lot of press. That's junk science, it's fake news, and it's nonsense. So there you go. You want to get me going? Get me going. Go ahead.
You're gone, Jack.
Out there.
Elena says, she said, Elena asks you, why in the northern states are they having more issues with whooping cough and measles?
Well, first of all, I didn't know they were having more issues with it. If they're having more issues with it in the northern states in the United States, you can ask yourself, why do people get the flu in the wintertime, and why do people get more upper respiratory infections in the wintertime? And the answer is because people in the wintertime spend more time in close proximity with others. We get out of the outside and we barricade ourselves inside to stay warm, right?
Yeah.
So when you have people that stay close together, they're more likely to transmit diseases. So if it's cold and you're in the wintertime, then you're more likely to have that happen. Oh, I'm not upset, Kira. Don't you worry.
No, nobody's upset.
No, I'm not upset.
We're just passionate.
This isn't anger. This is passion. This is what I do all day long. I talk to people about this stuff all day. I'm more than willing to discuss things like that. Because I'll tell you, there's a lot of really ridiculous ideas floating around out there that many people just think are absolute facts, and it's like, what planet are you coming from? This is not true.
Chrissy says, put something funny. She said, ask him about the keto diet to get him going. Oh, so funny, so funny. Can I please ask you, can you put questions in capitals? Because there's so much chat going in, I can't find all the things. Someone was talking about one of their children had a very bad reaction to one of the vaccines for whooping cough. So he was very ill. I know some people have some reactions. So she ended up not giving him the second one. That was Lynn. I managed to find that one.
Okay. I watched a video last night, Tracy Cook. You say, sadly, your American shootings in school are higher than UK because we can't get guns as easily as you. You know what? We don't have anywhere near the stabbings in our schools as you do. You need to research how there are more people stabbed to death in London than there are shot to death in New York City. So don't tell me that it's about a gun. It's about the violence in the heart of people. Okay? Yeah, it is sad that it happens, but it is also incorrect to blame the gun. I've got guns in my home that have never hurt anybody, and they're there for my protection and the protection of my family. Okay, I watched a frightening video yesterday of a man that got into a little traffic dispute with somebody. He got out and he grabbed one of the doors and he opened, and somebody's videoing him, and he's got a shank. He's got a steel spike about this long. And he's about to reach, he almost reaches in there. He threatens to stab the man with this thing, okay? What's that man's defense? I ask you, how does he defend himself? Is he supposed to also have a steel shank? How do you defend yourself against a great large man if you are a thin, frail woman? Are you supposed to know jujitsu? No, I'm not buying it. I think you have a right to defend yourself and protect yourself and your family. And if you don't think you have that right, that's fine. Then you walk around without any protection at all. That's fine. That's your business. I'm not going to tell you what you can or you can't do. But don't spread lies about statistics about places and about who's safe and who's not, because that's not right. And it's a lot of junk. It's a lot of junk, okay? There's a lot of junk information out there. There are a lot of people with political motives that are trying to get you to believe certain things, and they're not true. That's fake news, okay? It's fake.
Absolutely. Well said. And I think there was a study they did where they gave everybody good quality housing. So they had a good, nice sort of house that was plenty of room, and it was in good condition. It wasn't falling apart and that sort of thing. And they found that there was a lot less violence and a lot less kind of unrest within communities, because I think people just want somewhere safe and nice to be, and people tended to look after the houses much better because they felt they had security and something to be proud of.
And this was where?
This was in the UK. They did a study, and there was a lot less violent, a lot less gang fighting and that sort of thing, because people weren't scratching for, a piece of, if you put enough rats in a corner, they'll fight. But if you don't squash them in and give them, that they go about, their life kind of much more peacefully. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. When there's overcrowding and there's bad condition of housing, and people just don't have the basic human needs, like a safe, secure room, roof over their head, some basic sort of human needs. That's when people kind of get very unrestful and fight amongst themselves a lot more.
Well, I think anytime people feel that they have been disenfranchised, if they have been locked out of the ability to change their circumstances, if they believe that, then they'll behave that way. Here in the United States, I think that it is a little bit more difficult for some people to escape their upbringing, okay? And nobody gets to pick who their parents are. You don't get to pick your conditions. You don't get to pick your genetics and your circumstances. But one of the greatest things I think about America is that no matter where you begin, you don't have to end there. You can do better for yourself. Yeah. And where I have a big complaint with a lot of what goes on out there is that we prevent. Our government gets in and does things to prevent people from getting out of these bad circumstances by making it too easy to stay. And I think that generational poverty is a governmental problem and that we're actually causing it. But that's not what we're here about today, I realize. But so, We want to talk about, you want to talk about medical things and then all of a sudden dump that into the laps of your doctors, which oftentimes these things happen because we're the front line, just like a first responder. We're the ones that are going to deal with people that come in with no insurance, or that come in with extreme states of ignorance about their bodies and their health. They were given a free education, but they didn't take advantage of it because their culture was such that education wasn't important. Because it wasn't important because all you have to do is just know how to get down to the little community center and register for a certain political party and make sure that the food stamps and the welfare checks arrive. Look, that's not right. People need to learn to think on their own and make their own decisions and take care of themselves and their families, because that's how nations are built. It's not the other way around.
No, that's true.
And so,
And well, actually, Robin is saying connections to nutrition and kids' behaviour, and that's the same for adults too. Basically, if you put rubbish inside kids, they just burst out of their skins. They're uncontrollable at school. They can't access the education that they have a right to, because they're, drinking too many colas. They've had a whole load of sugary cereals for breakfast and Nutella, and they've got loads of sweets in their lunches, and school lunches are just full of, empty calories, as you would call them. And it's very hard to control yourself when you're kind of bursting out of your skin with, sugar, crashes and cravings, etc.
I completely agree. I agree. And I know that there's been a lot of changes in school lunches in the United States over the last 10 years. A lot of this was an initiative that was started by during the Obama administration. And I think there's an interesting story, a background story about how all that changed. The food industry got involved and convinced them to make the change to more exercise, as opposed to, because there's too much money behind putting that kind of junk in foods. But I will tell you that no kid in America need ever go hungry, because we have school breakfast programs, we have school lunch programs, we have after school programs. We have welfare programs that feed the children. They get free medical care. So anybody that if you're living in another country and you think that American children are somehow doing without because we don't have a nationalized healthcare system or we don't have some other system, that's baloney. Our poor people in America are some of the most. They're probably in the top 5 of the poor, ranking in poor people in the world. So if you're a poor person in America, you're doing better than most poor people anywhere else in the world. You actually have access to medicine, to nutrition, to housing, to electricity. You even get a cell phone, for crying out loud. And there's no reason for people to think around the world that we mistreat people here in the United States, that we're not able to feed our hungry. That's nonsense. The problem that we have in the United States is that we believe that individuals have the freedom to be wrong. We have the freedom to be incorrect and to make bad decisions. And there are a lot of people living on the streets that they're not able to get the care that they need from a psychiatric standpoint, because we can't decide if it's in their, if we're allowed to force them to take care of themselves or not, okay? You can't force people to take care of themselves. In America, we can't do. In other countries, they do. They just know you're coming in here whether you like it or not. Unless you have tuberculosis in the United States, and by the way, if you have tuberculosis in the United States in an active form, you will lose your freedom. We do have TB wards in America. If you have tuberculosis, we will haul your butt and put you into a treatment center, and we will put you on the medicines against your will, and we will treat your tuberculosis. And once your tuberculosis is stable, then we'll let you go free, and then we'll have somebody come monitor you and make sure that you don't have active tuberculosis. You cannot freely walk the streets with TB in the United States and infect other people. That is a public health issue. Period.
Yeah. No, that's amazing that they do that, because it's so, it's not a good thing to have, is it?
No, of course not.
But I think, a lot of our social problems, stem from, the kids getting fed a load of sugar, a load of empty calories. They're building their brains, they're building their bones, they're building their bodies, they're just sponges, and putting the wrong nutrition in kids, Finian didn't even know that ITV existed. That's our channel where they have adverts on. I only let him watch BBC Children's TV because there were no advertisements. So I was not going to have him, looking at Sunny D Orange and, some ridiculous food and asking for them. What I didn't know is
you acted like a parent?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I protected him from
how
that.
How awful.
I know. And none of that. I want that for
your ability to be a
well.
parent and made a good choice for your child.
I did.
Wait, I got to answer a couple of these here.
No idea.
School lunches are healthier than they've ever been. That's debatable. But they should be healthier. If you count ketchup as a vegetable, then okay, I'm with you there. PE is required every year now in public school here. Well, I don't know where here is, but I'm 54 years old, and I went to school in in junior high and high school and elementary school back in the 60s and the 70s and in early 80s, and PE was required at every grade level. So that is not a new thing at all. And I went to a very poor school district in the middle of rural Arkansas, okay? And plus, I also went to school districts in California and on the East Coast as well as in Florida. So I lived in a lot of different areas when I was growing up. So I'm going to tell you, they all had physical education programs. Here's another one. You say the poor get medicine, but you can't. Well, in the United States of America, every state has a Medicaid program, which is medical medicine for the poor. Every state has it. If you have it, if you can't access it, it's because you have assets. It's because you have a reason you're not. Either you're earning some money but not enough. There are some people that end up in the in this donut hole area where they're not wealthy enough to be able to afford the $400 or $500 insurance plan, but yet they've earned too much to be at the poverty level where they get free medical care. So there is sort of an area in there that can be problematic. Let's see. Kelly says not all the poor get free meds. Then I would challenge to find out why, because poor people can get Medicaid in every state in the United States of America. And Chrissy says, I know those in prison get medical care than I have in the past. Well, you know what? We've had veterans get worse medical care than those in prison as well. And we've seen working adults not get good medical care for all kinds of reasons. So a lot of these things can be fixed. A lot of these people are simply uneducated, and a lot of them don't know how to access resources, or they have doctors who don't care. But it is a lot of times there are programs that are available. There are ways for people to get medications who need them. I know of a young man who's just 19 now. He's a type 1 diabetic. He developed leukemia. He was taken care of at MD Anderson Cancer Center. His leukemia is in remission. He was given Make-A-Wish Foundation trips. This kid has gotten the finest medical care available in the world, and he's on Medicaid right here in the state of Texas. So I call bonkers, nonsense, BS on a lot of this stuff. I know it's out there. I know it's available, and I know a lot of people are having issues in their own particular states, but I know it's available. It is available, and you can get the help you need. You can get medicines. You can get all the care. Sometimes you have to sit down and fill out a form. Sometimes you have to get involved in a program through a pharmaceutical company. Sometimes they want to take steps to make sure you're not just taking advantage of the system, and I don't blame them for that. But I don't know of a single large pharmaceutical company that doesn't have some kind of compassionate care program where they don't give medicines free to poor people. They all do it, free or at reduced cost. I had a good friend who's now passed a couple of years ago. And he was a type 1 diabetic, had been his whole life, and he could not afford his insulin. He couldn't afford it. He got enrolled in a program with, I believe it was Pfizer, and don't quote me on that, but it was one of the larger companies, And let me tell you something. They gave him his insulin. He got a box delivered to my clinic every month with his insulin. And all he had to do was fill out a few papers and provide a couple of income tax returns. And they said, you qualify. And they gave him his medicine. So, you know what? It's not like that. Okay. And it bothers me greatly that people around the world think that here's America, hates it, doesn't take care of its poor and elderly, and that's crap.
Jolly good. I think we often, you know, there's lots of sound bites out there that don't have all the information just to get, you know, selling newspapers and all the stuff, all the media stuff that we've all fallen prey to. I mean, you know, like being told to drink milk because it's good for you, and, you know, having vegetable, you know, having meat and, you know, like breakfast cereals that are healthy and that, you know, we've all heard all of that. And, you know, we've been largely kind of misled. And now I think there's a lot of news out there. There's a lot of, information out there that does basically show us that eating a healthy diet changes so many of the things that we have trouble with, like, you know, depression. Eat right. Your depression is just going to be alleviated because you're going to be making serotonin. You know, you're going to be having all those little lovely sort of, you know, chemicals going off in your head when you eat right, you know, and, you know, people, you know, if you eat the right food, it just sets you up so differently. I think it's the cornerstone of everything. The kind of, you know, we are what we eat is so very important. And I've got a question here from Josh, who says, Dr. Gilmore, why do you think that the fertility rate is significantly down all around the world?
I'm not sure that it is. Is the fertility rate down, or is the abortion rate up? Are we considering abortion as a form of birth control or not?
I don't know where are you getting your information from there, Josh? And I think a lot of people do find it hard to conceive. And I think, you know, again, you know, what are they eating? You know, people who are obese, you know, can find it hard to conceive, you know, that maybe they're not even having their, you know, their menstruation cycles because they haven't got enough good nutrition in their body. They might be eating a lot of food, but their body's just processing all the rubbish, you know, that a lot of people eat, you know, and it's not being able to get any of the nutrients that happen to be there because their guts are so clogged up that it's not working properly, it's not efficient, they're tired, you know, loads of symptoms there, and I think that could contribute to some people's
and I think there's a lot of people out there afraid of the future for children, so they're just electing not to give birth. If you're talking about fertility rate as you know, a decision-making process, well, that's different. Right now, the fertility rate in the UK and the United States are exactly the same, 1.8 births per female on average per woman. So that is, but in Japan it's 1.44. But when you look at Japan, you look at a much higher crowding situation. They have a lot less land mass, you know, per capita, I think, than either one of our countries do. So, you know, there can be lots and lots of reasons why. When you talk about fertility, I kind of think you're talking about the ability to get pregnant. But when you talk about these fertility rates, what they really are is they're more like birth rates. So there can be a lot of things that can be done with statistics that can make you think that you're seeing things a certain way. Yeah. You know, I do know that we have the science and the technology to help a lot of women get pregnant now that never could before, because we have so many techniques now and so much technology at our fingertips that we didn't even just 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see, Deb, and since we're talking about fertility, Debbie talks about what about meat eaters and erectile dysfunction correlation? There's an enormous connection there, because the ability to have an erection is what we in the medical profession call the canary in the coal mine, because that is the first problem that a lot of men see that shows up as a result of vascular disease. So the more animal products you consume, the more cholesterol you consume and triglycerides that your body can't process properly ends up collecting and plaquing along the walls of the vessels. Penile erection is dependent wholly on blood flow, so becomes a circulatory problem, and so it's one of the places where it shows up first. So when I get men in my clinic that are in their early 40s and they tell me they're starting to have issues in that area, and the first thing they want is they want medication. I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, we need to find out why this is happening. We need to check your heart. We need to check your vascular system. We need to look at your lipids. I mean, this is not just, here, just take this pill and go. This is, it's a sign that you have a problem, okay? And if we get them in their 20s, and they're having problems in that area, it's a whole different issue. Can anybody guess what the problem is in 20-year-old? Let's say you get let's say you were a doctor. Let's play doctor, guys. Now that we're talking about sex and erections and all these fun things. Hey, if they can talk about it on the TV commercial, we can talk about it here, right? We're adults. Most of us are, I hope, anyway. But if you have a 24-year-old male who came into your clinic and said to you that they have a girlfriend or they're married and they're having difficulty getting an erection, what do you think the problem might be? I would like to see all of your replies. I will tell you what it is. But I want to hear what you guys think it is, because it's an epidemic too, and I have this, and I've had to teach my whole staff, all the nurse practitioners, this because they didn't understand what was going on. So I want to know what you guys think. 24-year-old male comes into the clinic, he can't get erections. What's his problem?
Well, Ms. Al says alcohol.
Nope.
Let's have some answers. Any answers?
I got one. Robin says hormone issues. Nope.
Am I allowed to answer?
Yes. Smoking. No.
Emotional pressures. Depression.
It's close, but not exactly. It's not depression.
Stress. Sherry said.
Nope.
Lynn is saying fear of becoming a parent.
Nope.
Mary Beth is blushing. Mary Beth. I love you, babes. Aiton. I don't know. Nerves. Diabetic. Nope. Kira's saying diabetic. Cindy's saying nerves.
No.
Obesity.
No.
Video games, Josh is saying.
No. I get anxiety, self-esteem, weed, nope. Diet and smoking, nope. Poor blood circulation, nope. Diabetes, nope. Too much damn Mountain Dew, nope. Vaping, nope.
Low testosterone.
You guys, look.
Sherry's saying low testosterone.
Okay, look. No. This is how far away from reality you all are as to what your 20-year-old males are doing. Okay? It's not a blood issue. The question, I got another person just came in. What's the question? 24-year-old male walks into your clinic, pretend you're a doctor, and says to you, I'm having trouble getting erections with my girlfriend or my wife if they're married. What's the problem?
Kira says their partner isn't that attractive. Kira, you're so funny.
That's actually close.
Is it really?
It's actually close.
They have no libido.
No, they have a libido. Not sex abuse in childhood. Not bike riding. Come on, guys, you're smarter than this. What do people do on the internet?
Oh, they're too busy on social media to actually have sex.
No. That social media has only recently become the most popular sites on the internet.
Laziness. Luann is saying laziness.
No. We had a correct answer. FDL Seeker has the correct answer.
Ooh, Seeker.
But it's only close.
Mary Beth is saying masturbation.
That's close. That's very close.
Porn. Sherry is saying porn.
Porn is the answer.
Porn is the answer.
They're addicted to pornography.
Oh my goodness, of course.
If you're a 24-year-old male, you haven't had enough time to develop any kind of, any kind of vascular disease to where that's a problem. And I'm not saying that sometimes it's not depression or sometimes it's not one. But when I get them in several in a week that say that the same thing, that they can't, the problem is they're addicted to porn, and real life is nothing like porn.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's reality.
And they watch it from very young, don't they?
The average, the average person, spends X number of time in different kinds of sites, but for men around the world that access to the internet, pornography is a horrible addiction. It is a terrible, terrible addiction. They get addicted to it, and then nothing helps, except getting them to stop watching porn. So I take these young men and I get them into counseling.
Yeah. Yeah, because I saw a documentary about what they're trying to teach, teenagers in school as they come into their kind of, sexual kind of activity. And, the boys are all watching porn, so they all feel totally inadequate because they're not porn stars. And they're expecting the girls to do all the kinds of things that they're seeing there, and the girls are, are feeling that they don't look like that either, and they've all just got such a wrong idea about it that they're kind of scared to just be natural, just to be. Mary Beth is blushing again. Bless you.
It's an enormous problem in these young people. It just is. It is a big problem, and for every one, 20-year-old or 25-year-old that comes into my clinic and says, I've got this problem, there's probably 50 more too embarrassed to admit they have a problem.
Yeah.
But it is, and it's ruining their lives in some cases. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
Gosh, how sad is that?
It's extremely sad.
Yeah, that's very sad. So
that, nobody wants to talk about, we're much more focused on things that we think are big problems, like school gun shootings, right, than we are on things that actually are enormous problems, like young men being addicted to pornography. Kelly, I saw you wrote porn. What do you want? You want a star or something? Good gravy, man. You've said it 8 times. You said the word porn. We didn't give anything away. We were just saying, hey, who can guess?
Well, that's just.
And Robin, you're right. It is younger and younger. I mean, it is a serious problem. It's a serious problem, and it objectifies women. It objectifies human sexuality. It trivializes human sexuality, and it's disgusting. And it's not normal. It's not natural. There's no love. It's not about romance. It's about a sex act that, in my opinion, is vulgar, and it has no place in a polite society whatsoever. Okay, so y'all want to talk about vaccines again? I think that would be probably.
How are you all doing with your eating? How are you all doing? What results have you got? Because we've been going 8 weeks now, haven't we? 8 weeks. I know you're still giggling with. I don't know what the comments are on your side, but we have had some. We 8 weeks now we've been going, and so many people are seeing some changes in their health. Anyone got any results? Anything they want to share? Any questions about what to eat, what they're eating, how they're getting on, etc.? Do let us know. And I'm loving the questions in capitals. It makes it easy for me to see. Yeah, Lynn, it's all about matching up to expectations, and we, as a species, We spend way, way, way too much time worrying about what other people think of us, what other people think of our opinions, what other people think of our actions, and we don't have the courage to, believe in our own opinions above everybody else's, and to go out and do the things that we want to do just because we're worried about what other people will think, what society will think. And it cripples us in so many directions. This is a mindset game. Everything is down to mindset and confidence, how you feel within yourself, and other people's opinions. Half the time we're worried about people's opinions. We don't even know their name, and we're worried what they might think of us, and it's stifling, I was wanting to know about the is that Meta 7, Sherry? Meg 7. Is that the Meta 7, or is that the new Jaws movie, the Meg? I just wondered.
Which we watched, by the way. It wasn't that great. It wasn't terrible either, but it wasn't that great.
I haven't seen it, I have to say. But we did watch Jaws at Christmas. We thought Finian should be initiated into the classic movies that we've all seen as kids.
Somebody asked, why do we eat so many mushrooms? I advocate 10% of your diet come from mushrooms because of so much what? Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. Cindy is saying, knowing that I lost 20 pounds made me very happy and feeling much better about myself. Absolutely fantastic. That's fantastic. It
and
does.
Debbie is saying her gout is gone.
Wow.
Her gout is gone.
That is amazing.
That is amazing.
What foods help with vertigo, or is the world making me dizzy? Luann.
Just this broadcast is
this
making
broadcast,
you dizzy.
Yeah, we've done a few, yeah.
It'll make you dizzy.
Yeah. It is a great boost. When you see results, whether on the scales or just your clothes are feeling looser, or you're getting into clothes that you haven't worn for a while, you kind of feel amazing. You kind of feel invincible when you have a health result. You'll be having less migraines. You'll be feeling happier. This is the thing that just got me. Just feeling happier. When you feel happier, it doesn't matter what size you are. But when you're not feeling happy, it matters whether you're too thin. It matters whether you're too big. It matters whether that colour suits you. It matters what people think. But when you feel happy within yourself, it builds your own self-confidence. You have this feeling of being invincible. And then you go out with this happy demeanour. And then people, funnily enough, react in a more happy way, more positive way to you. And then you're more positive. And it just builds and builds and builds and builds. And then it's easier to be kind to yourself, both in the thoughts in your head, the little voice in your head that's just the beast of hell to yourself. That's where we're terrible to ourselves. That subsides, then it becomes easier to choose healthy things, and it just snowballs until you're just at the peak of your health. It's a really amazing thing. And also sharing your results, like Cindy sharing her 20 pound that she's lost and how much better she's feeling about herself within herself. That spurs and motivates other people, because if Cindy can do it, you can do it. We can all do it. We're all grown-ups. We can all go, I am not putting that in my mouth because I'm a grown-up. I'm just not going to do it. How about I don't buy that thing at the supermarket? How about I don't have it in my cupboard? How about I have something healthy to gnaw on instead if I'm going to feel like I want to eat the house out? We can all do that because we're all grown-ups, and we can all really build on the motivation that we've got in this group, because this group is full of kindness and love and positivity. And you've got Dr. Gilmore, who's just a superstar, helping us on all the health issues and all the kind of misinformation that's out there. And we are subject to misinformation, we really, really are. This is where you can get the information. So if you know anyone that needs to sort out their health, who needs to get healthy, because if you want to lose weight, you need to want to get healthy, because when you get healthy, you start losing weight. I've said this like time and time again. You don't lose weight to get healthy. You get healthy to lose weight. So if you know anybody that could do with a health boost. I mean, this is the time of year now. How many people do you know that go, oh, I really ought to do something about my health. I really ought to do some exercise. I really ought to join the gym. I really ought to, do something I really ought to tidy my house out. I really ought to do this. This is the time. Get them on this group, share this information with them, invite them to join us, share some of these videos, send them the link, because we're all here to help each other. And it's such a brilliant time of year to do this, because, we've all stuffed our faces at Christmas, and we're all feeling maybe a little bit tight around the girth, and we're all feeling like we've eaten too many rich foods or had too many wines or beers or whatever. And it is the time when, everyone joins the gym, and by February they're all just paying membership and not going. So this is the place to invite your friends to come to, because it's so fantastic when you have the motivation. And I'm here every day of the week, literally to add positivity and any of the information that I've gathered and the experiences I've had to help you, because anyone can do this. Anyone can choose what to put in their mouths. However hard you think it is, it's not as hard as you think. That's just your head making an excuse for you, because you're scared of change. You're scared of, what if I can't stick to it? What if I slip up? Well, what if you do? What if you do slip up? There are literally hundreds of people that come through these groups. They're not always on at the same time, but we like 300-400 views of this. Who we all may slip up. I've slipped up. Dr. G slipped up. We're human, and it doesn't matter, because there's no judgment happening here. Absolutely no judgment happening here. So I just wanted to say that to you all, because I'm very passionate about this. And I just love hearing all the wonderful results people are getting, and procedures they're not having because they're healthier, and dresses they've got into, and that's just absolutely been amazing. Lynn says it's been the first Christmas that she hasn't felt bloated or put on weight. Yes!
Wow, that's fantastic.
High five to you. That's fantastic.
So we did a little cross promotion with Sue and Meta 7 the other day. We said at a certain date and time we offered anybody that bought a bottle of Meta 7 that I would order a Sue Verhoeven coffee mug, and that when it came in, I would reship it to you. The question I got was, does that mean I'm not shipping the Meta 7 until the mug comes in? And that answered, no. We'll ship your Meta 7 out right away. We're not going to wait and hold and put all that in the same box. Don't worry about that. So if you have not received your Meta 7 or received a notification, we're on DW time when it comes to that. She is the shipper, and she regularly goes to the post office. And so the only thing we had was New Year's Day yesterday, so that could have slowed things down a little bit. But otherwise, we are, we're business as usual. So that's going to go out just fine. There should not be an issue. I know we had several orders that went out, should have gone out this morning, that came in last night. So we're doing fine.
Excellent. That's really good.
There shouldn't be an issue. You don't have to wait. Don't think you have to wait. Those mugs I will reship at my expense when they come in. Whenever Sue orders, Sue, you haven't even placed the order for them yet, right?
No, I'm waiting for the orders to come in so I can place the right amount of manufacturing order. So I'm going to be looking at those orders. I've had some people messaging me with some more coming through. I'm going to do some more posts just to make sure, because a lot of people wanted them, and a lot of people have not been on social media over the holiday period, which I totally understand. They've been spending time with friends and family and stuff. So, shoot, I bought before you posted. Luann says she bought before she posted it. Luann did. Luann said, right, Sherry's question was about Meta 7. She says, hang on a second, just let me find it because it's not in caps. She has a lot of medical problems and she was wanting to know if she could use it. She says she has autoimmune stage 4 cirrhosis and did not know if it would hurt me. That's the Meta 7 question.
She can try it safely.
You can try it safely. It won't hurt. Okay, so there's some information there for you. And what did, I had an interesting one from, where is it again? From Josh, where is it? Sam Harris and Robert Sapolsky say that free will is an illusion. That's very interesting. I shall have to look them up.
Wow. I wonder why they would say. Why would you think that free will was an illusion? That's what that is ridiculous.
That I can imagine the kind of content on that. I suppose it's got to do with that we're influenced by our environment and by people. But it's when we self-develop ourselves and when we learn to know how we tick. And I've recommended this book a gazillion times. It's called The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Peters. He knows probably more about how the human brain works than any other person alive. He is actually on the autistic spectrum. He studied it medically. He studied it psychologically. He studied it for the MOD. He's written books on it. He's absolutely amazing. And that book literally changed the way I see everything and everyone, how I understand people, how I understand myself, how I understand my urges and whether I have free will or not, and willpower and stuff like that. Willpower is a terrible one. You have to create new habits. And when you have new habits, which only take 21 days to create, they become a habit, and habit just removes the need for willpower, because that's what it is. You know, when you put your trousers on, you probably all now can visualize putting a pair of trousers or slacks on. You know what leg you put in first. You don't think about it. I always put my right leg in first. Every single time. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to twist my arm and put the right leg in first. So, for goodness sake. It's a habit. I do it subliminally. I do it on autopilot. You create new healthy habits. They become autopilot habits, and that helps you actually do what you want to do, what your head, if you think about it, wants to do, and not what those urges that your little chimp wants you to do, like eat the cake shop, eat the pork chop when you're trying not to, that kind of thing. He's given us some references here. He's a professor at Stanford. That'll be really interesting. I'm actually going to look that up because that kind of thing floats my boat a lot. So I'll be very interested to look that up, Josh. Thanks for asking about it. Kira thinks it's nonsense. Right. Yeah, it's interesting what people write about things, and it's interesting. I find it fascinating. Just behavior, really. It's human behavior and different kind of slants on different things. So, that's me. Lots of chatting there.
So I did not use the air fryer yesterday. Got really busy with some barn projects and so forth. Probably why I feel so great today, because I was so active yesterday. It just made me feel fantastic today. It's just a really good day, good health day.
Yeah, that's good. Today. I seem to have been fasting today because I started a new job today, and I got there early this morning, and I literally basically worked 8.5 hours straight and came home, and this tea has been refreshed with a bit of hot water, but that's all I've had. So I seem to be fasting at the moment. But I think I'm going to have some of my vegan shepherd's pie that I made that I put up on Facebook. I put the recipe up for those of you who've asked, by the way. Madge is saying, Sue, you did a drawing of your body a few weeks back. It reminded me that I'd done one in the past. I found it. It was almost exactly 4 years ago. I weighed myself, and I laughed so much. I was exactly the same now as then, but after about 3 weeks, I measured and I'd lost a total of 8.5 inches.
That's really good.
And then I laughed again. That's just absolutely fantastic, because quite often your weight won't change, but your physical dimensions will. So I always advocate measuring biceps, chest, your rib cage, your waist, your hips, the widest part of your hips, ladies, because you know that's the bit that bothers us the most. Widest bit of the thighs and of the calves, because you'll be surprised how many inches you can lose off your calves. You know, and that's just amazing when you put those skinny jeans on. It's just like they go on much better, you know, much easier. And you might not notice it unless you measure it. And guys, what's not monitored, what's not measured is not monitored. Think of your football team, you know. Every single thing they do is measured, it's monitored, it's compared. That's why we're all glued to it, or those who are into sports are glued to it. This is why you know that this guy can run on this grass and he can run a long way and he's fast and he's had that many goals, and, you know, how long into the match this team scores. You know, we know all of this because it's measured. And when you measure things, you can monitor them. If you don't measure things, you can't monitor them. And then you can't be enthused and motivated by the results. You know, a friend of mine, she did a 30-day detox, and she didn't measure herself. And, you know, at the end of the month, she decided she'd get on the scales, but she got her period and she was all bloated and feeling like a big barrage balloon. And the scales didn't show anything. And she was crushed because she hadn't put a foot wrong. She was so demotivated by it. Yet everybody was telling her she looked slimmer. Her face looked slimmer. She looked healthier. Her complexion was brighter. She had more energy. And she didn't believe it because the scales didn't tell her. But I said to her, go and put some clothes on that you haven't worn, because she's wearing all floaty elastic things and all things that us ladies do when we feel a bit like hippopotamus, you know, and we're like, oh, right, let's just put something stretchy on today and some big cape to hide the belly. And we're all guilty of doing that, you know, and she did. She went and put some dresses on and she came back to me and she was like, Sue, I can't believe it. I've literally dropped 2 dress sizes. And I'm like, there you go, girl.
There you go, right?
It's not measured. You cannot monitor it. You literally, the joy, the jumping up and down, the happy dance, the confidence, the invincibility that occurs when you measure something and then you monitor it is just amazing. So any of you guys who haven't measured your body measurements, go do it after we get off from here. And I did draw a little picture because I used to write them in lists, and then I'd write the left arm on the right one because then I'd get all mixed up. So I just draw my body. So I knew where I'd measured, and, you know, it is very motivating. So I highly recommend, especially if you're starting your plant-based, now, because a lot of you are starting, after the holiday period. So you want to you want to get your biggest measurements in there so that you can do the biggest happy dance, you know, when you choose to do it again. And don't do it every 5 minutes either. You know, just like put your picture up there on your fridge or whatever, and it might be motivating you not to go swinging off the door looking for things to eat when it's not meal times, or whatever your Achilles heel is there. You know, and maybe measure it again in February, you know. I
did something just like that back in February. I actually did a self-portrait of myself. A lot of people don't know this, that I am kind of an artist a little bit on the side. You know, I do a lot of different things, but I like to draw, mostly you know, charcoals and things like that. But my favorite is just good old pen and paper, because I really feel like I can get my, you know, my point across better with that. And so I drew kind of a self-portrait of myself, where I was, February last year. And then I've recently updated, a newer picture that kind of shows where I am now. So, I mean, I have not really shared this with anyone, but if you guys would like to see it, I mean...
Yes,
you would like to see it?
We would like to see it.
You're not going to make fun of my drawing, though, right?
Of course not. We all come from a place of love. Let's have a look. Oh, bless you. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. It is fantastic. And you can see
the difference is subtle, but back in February, if you look, you can see on the top picture, I'm a little bit rounder as compared to the bottom picture, where I'm a little thinner, and my head has shrunk slightly too, I've noticed. So, and optical illusion makes you, it might make you think my arms are actually longer, but what's happened is they're the same length, it's just an optical illusion. I could only use part of my arms before, now you can, so, there you go.
Do you know?
Yeah.
You know, I'm loving your art, Jack. I'm loving your art. Josh says you've forgotten the glasses.
Yeah.
Well, when he was drawing it or on the picture. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I had to say that. I'll be getting a banana out soon. Right. I just wanted to say though, what goes on in your head if you were to draw a stick drawing of yourself and you draw yourself with a giant, drawing yourself more like an archetypal, stick man, that must have some satisfaction for you because you've lost 50 pounds, right, in the last year? Yeah,
I did.
Yeah. And I bet you can't
Somebody
even imagine
commented
being
on one of
back.
my videos, it's so, foreign to me now that I can't imagine that I would ever want to go back and get a cheeseburger or eat a pizza or something. I just can't imagine that I would do that.
Yeah. No, cured is the wrong word, but your body is telling you what you want. And that's what happens. And that's what we talked about a little bit on the last call where, people had some meat and then felt awful or had a cheese sandwich and threw it up because, actually things that you used to, like, I used to love spaghetti carbonara, I just like the more sauce was on it, the more cheese that was on it. The poor waiter would be there just grating and grating and grating Parmesan. Is that enough? No, a bit more please. I love it. No, a bit all over here. Black pepper, he'd be there for like half an hour getting repetitive strain injury on my dinner. And I would just if I was at home, I would lick the bowl. Actually, I could never make it as good as a restaurant. I absolutely adored it. And now I wouldn't dream of ordering it. I wouldn't want to order it. It's repugnant to me now to actually eat that kind of food, and that's no willpower involved. I'm not wrangling. I'm not struggling. I'm not wishing I could. I just can't think of just putting that in my mouth and those fatty bits of bacon. I just literally don't want it. And that is what the beauty of making a lifestyle change. This is not a diet, as we've said loads and loads of times. This is a lifestyle change. Your body absolutely loves you to bits when you go plant-based. It absolutely loves you, and it gives you all the instincts that we've drummed out of ourselves with fast food and eating a load of empty carbs, as you say, Dr. Gilmore. So, it's just like, it may seem like a mountain. Those of you who are new, who are starting out, who are still yet to cut out all of the animal products, but it really isn't. It isn't what you think it is. I absolutely promise you. I'm going to be contacting some of my vegan friends to come on as guests again now, especially as it's a little more conducive to them actually having, being awake at the time that we're on now. And you can hear about their journeys, and what they did. So I think that'd be really, really interesting and very, very inspiring as well to see just what kind of, health difficulties they've overcome, both physical and mental, by changing to plant-based eating and whole foods. Robin has got to go. She's going to hang out with her granddaughter. Have fun, Robin. Thanks for joining us both. It's been wonderful.
I'm waiting for the Gons to get here. I'll be off soon too. She's coming over. It's time, first of the year. It's time for us to get all the data and information from everything over to the accountant. So the Gons is my go-to helper to get all that together.
Right, just to let you know, Robin, and anyone else who wants to know, we're next on Sunday at 2 p.m. Texas time, 8 p.m. UK time. That's our next. We're going Wednesdays and Sundays at 8 and 2. Hi, Kay. Lovely to see you. Josh is saying the plants have glyphosate on them, though. That's why I eat animals.
Okay. Enjoy your heart disease.
Oh.
Enjoy your diabetes.
Right.
Good for you. You're avoiding that glyphosate. There you go. Power to you.
What even is that? My self-portrait is booked. Oh, no. Josh is putting a load of nonsense up here. So I think... Oh, no, that's horrid. Right, okay. Ignoring that. See you, Robin, darling. See you Sunday, sweetheart. Are we going to go for a break? We've been on just over an hour. Are we going to go for a wee break and come on for a little bit of a second half?
If you'd like to, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind taking a potty break, as you call it stateside. I'm going to start riddling in a minute.
Potty break for everybody.
Okay, we'll be back in 5, guys. Don't go away.
Go.